Good morning. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mark. This is Spiguyver Backpacking, and I'm out on the trail. It's been a while since I've actually been out on the trail, so it is nice to be out here and getting some miles in. It's a chilly day. It's probably right around 30, wind chills 19 to 21, and it's not really gonna get a whole lot warmer today. Probably be down in the 10 to 15 range overnight. I've got some new gear with me. I've got a new stove, I've got a new hammock, and I've got a new tarp, all that I'll be testing out this weekend. So yeah, we're gonna go up, hit the AT, hike for a little while. Not a long day planned, not a long weekend planned, really not a ton of miles, just getting out. I had, you guys know, the rhabdo incident, and I actually was in, had some blood work done, and I'm waiting on the results of that because I have had a couple of setbacks along the way. And so just making sure that I'm good. And so I'm just coming out here for a quick weekend overnighter. I really wanted to get out, get some time out. I've got a bunch of gear to test, so it was time to do that. So that's what we're gonna do this weekend. So let's go. I honestly really love this park and this area. The AT going through Harriman is just an amazing area, but just the hills, the rocks, the trees, the lakes, everything else that's out here, it is just such a beautiful area, and I love coming out here. I've been out here since moving out in September of 22. I've probably done 7, 8, 9 trips up here to Harriman, and they don't get old. Like, it isn't like, oh man, I'm going back to that place again. I mean, there's still a ton of areas, a ton of trails that I have not tried yet, and so there's still a lot to explore. This weekend I'm on trails that I've done before, in areas that I know I really like, in areas that I know I have good access to water, and that if something was to go wrong, if I'm not feeling well, it's an easy trip back to the Jeep to head back to the house. So not a terrible plan for the weekend. I've got to get a few trips where things go well. My body tells me everything's good. I get the test results back and they say we're good. And then we're going to do more. So before coming out here this morning, I actually went to one of the hillier wooded disc golf courses near me and went out there solo just to go play. And I met up with two other solo guys along the way. So on hole 2, met up with one guy, we linked up and started playing. Then on hole I guess it was 6, yeah, hole 6, another guy joined us and we played the hole 18 together, and good time. It was actually a good time, and I played pretty good for, being as new as I am, with those guys having 2-3 years under their belt and playing quite a bit. I felt like I kept up pretty well, so I was happy with that. But now we're out here, very relaxing, just taking my time, not in a rush, not trying to crush miles, just out to enjoy nature this weekend. All right, short day. Right down here is the shelter. Right over there is the spot that I'm wanting to camp at. We'll go check out to see how the trees are, make sure there's nothing dead up there. And then way down at the bottom of the hill, you may be able to see it, but there is water down there. So there's a running creek down there. So this is the perfect, one of the perfect shelters in this park, because not many of them are there truly good water sources close to the shelter. But you've got the shelter over here, water down at the bottom of the hill, nice little campsites all through here. There's a nice rock ledge that kind of goes off this direction. And if this one isn't good, there's a lot of good spots along that rock ledge, and they're all good to hang at. Plus they're a little bit blocked from the wind. Over here is not as blocked, but we're gonna go check it out. All right, so I found the spot. So I'm right here. There's a little fire pit right behind me right here. I don't do fires while I'm out here, especially if I'm out here by myself. Maybe if one of my kids was with me, that'd be a different story. But I'm in this nice area. You can see all the rocks up behind me. I'm on a nice little ledge right here, and then just on the other side of this, it drops off and goes down to where the water is. But you can see all around, really nice area. And then this tree right here and this tree are gonna be the two that I hang off of. I'm gonna move some of these sticks that are here on the ground. That's where I'm gonna set up. And so I'm gonna get that new hammock set up. I've got the Majestic hammock. First time spending the night in it, so let's get it set up. All right, so I've got the Majestic hammock set up, and it is an interesting setup. It's a little bit different than a lot of stuff that's out there. And something in the magic, like I had talked about in the Maha video, with the way that he's actually assembled this, lets you get this weird lay where you don't get much, if any, shoulder squeeze, and there is no calf ridge or that pressure on the bottom of your feet that you get in a lot of gathered ends. Now, I will say I've only laid in it for, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. So I definitely need this weekend to get a better run at it. But the other cool thing is, or unique, is that the suspension, so this whoopee sling suspension with the carabiners and the ridgeline is all kind of part of the package. So it's all kind of interwoven together. And so the way that it is set up right now, and the way that it comes, if you buy it, it comes with the whoopee slings already on there. And that system kind of has to be there to get the suspension system right and to run with the ridgeline. We'll talk about whether or not I think that's a good thing later on down the road. Additionally, the tree straps, the way that Corey's put it together is it's actually 4 pieces. It's a 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, and 5 foot section, so that you can kind of mix and match. So if you've got a really big tree on one side and a skinny tree on the other side, you can use whatever you need, and there is plenty of line. Look, I'm still running line. There's like, I don't know, 10 additional feet of whoopee sling, which means you can go another 5 feet on each side to get to the straps. So you've got plenty of whoopee sling suspension to get you out there. And then, like I've done on this tree, I used a 3 and the 4 foot, put them together, and they've run to this one. And on the other side, I ran just the single 5 foot out to the whoopee sling suspension. And then it's real easy. Once you've got those set up, you never have to, at least the way I've got it right now, I don't even have to go back and adjust where they are on the tree. I just adjust the whoopee sling suspension a little bit, loosen it on one side, bring it up on the other to get it to where it lays right. So I'm gonna lounge in here for a little while, just kind of get a feel for it, see if I want to make any more adjustments. But yeah, pretty easy to set up. Got a deer standing right there looking at me. She just came running down the hill. There she goes. It is not very warm out here. Even laying in the hammock, I put the underquilt on there and it's nice underneath me, but the wind blowing over, it's a little bit chilly. I might have to grab my gloves, my jacket in a little bit, but figured it's probably time for something to eat, some lunch. And the best lunch that you can possibly have, and I don't care what other lunches are out there, that right there, outdoor pantry, Thai style chicken soup this one, guys, that's the one you've got to go out and get. This is the best one. Best lunch you can possibly find. Now, I did say I'm testing some new gear this weekend. One of those pieces is this. This is the Fire Maple Blade 2 stove. And the reason that I wanted to go with this stove is that it has, it's the external. So you hook up the canister externally, it doesn't sit on top of it. It's got nice legs that open up to be stable. And it has this piece right here. So this preheat loop is important for when it gets really cold out. So what it does is it allows you to not only use your canister right side up and use the gas that's in here, but if it gets really cold and that gas in there all condenses back down to a liquid, you can turn it upside down. The liquid will flow through the tube, come up through here, heat up, and pressurize. Now, I have tried it. I took it out when it was like, I don't know, 5 degrees, set it in the snow, was playing with it, and found that it definitely works. What you will notice, and it does actually say this in the instructions as well, is that when you tip it upside down, you lose a lot of the fine control, and it becomes a lot more powerful of a jet coming out of there. The other thing that I will say is that when I first got this, I had the canister connected and I couldn't get it at a good angle. Like, it kept having a kinked hose like this, and it took a little bit of playing around with it. This was just really tight. So where the canister hooks on, this does swivel, and it's meant to swivel. But mine was just actually really, really tight, and so it didn't seem like it would swivel, and I did not want to force it. So I went online, took a look at some videos and some pictures, saw that it does swivel, and so now you can see it does swivel. So if I had my stove here and I wanted to cook normal, it is right side up right now. But if it got really cold and this wasn't working anymore, I could just flip this over and use it this way, and now it would work that way. So what we're gonna do is put it normal way. Now, I did bring my small little Tokes 550, and this is what I use most of the time when I'm out backpacking. Unfortunately, this stove, even when folded up, doesn't really fit in here. I can get it to almost fit. I probably could get it to fit. I haven't played with it that much, but it seems like it's a little bit too big. I didn't want to force anything, especially when you're dealing with a hose. I didn't want to kink it or cause any issues there. But this does fit on there. It's not, I mean, it's a bigger stove. It's a bigger burn pattern here. But when these are flipped out, it does actually fit on there, and it is nice and secure. My 700 definitely fits a little bit better because it's the wide one, and I've got like a 2-quart or 2-liter that will fit on here really well. 1.5 liters fits on there really well. But wanted to show that even this 550 fits on there just fine, and that's what I'm going to be using this weekend. So I'm going to get this thing fired up, get some soup going. The best soup there possibly could be, by the way. Yes, that is true. All right, so this one only takes 1 cup hot water. Because it's a soup, I don't care if it's a little bit watery. A lot of the other meals that I get from Outdoor Pantry, I actually start with a little bit less water than what it calls for, and then if you need it afterwards, you can add more. But I find that most of the time, it needs a little bit less. But for a soup, that's not going to be a really big worry. The other thing I really like about this one, as opposed to some of my others, is that this has the graduated markings inside of it, so I can actually measure out what I'm doing while I'm doing it. All right. No problem getting it started. It doesn't have an igniter, so you've got to make sure that you have a lighter. Not a big deal. So one of the things I do want to say is that all of the gear that I'm testing this weekend, so the hammock, the tarp, and this stove, were sent to me free of charge in order to test out. I'm under no obligation whatsoever to give them good reviews, And I make that very clear with anybody that I agree to do a review with, is that I'm going to go out, I'm going to test it, and I'm going to tell it like it is. I will give positives and negatives about all of the gear, and that's just kind of how it is if I'm going to be doing a review. I don't do the for pay reviews. I know that a lot of the YouTubers out there do, and that's cool. You know, a lot of people want to make this their job. That's not what I'm in it for. I enjoy getting out. If I get the chance to educate people and tell you guys about cool equipment and cool gear that's out there, that's awesome. But I'm not doing it for the money. If I was doing it for the money, I'd have quit a long time ago. So I have the tarp strung up above. I haven't actually set it up, and I actually need to, because I need to put some line on all the pullouts in order to get it set up, some loops. But I was considering, it's not supposed to rain, it's supposed to be a beautiful night, but it is going to be cold enough. The frost is probably an issue, and this wind is not warm whatsoever, so putting that tarp down, closing the doors up is going to be nice for the night. So we'll see if that's low enough. I may actually lower it a little bit more so that we get it nice and to the ground and I'm sheltered. Oh. If you've never had this, there will be a link down below. Go click on it and go get yourself some. This is one that isn't in stock all the time. So when it is, I know that Rain Man and I both go and get as many as we can every time we see it's in stock. It is so tasty. Here's another nice spot. Nice spot that if you had a tent, you could probably put a tent right here. Kind of flattish. Decent trees, but you do have some dead ones, so something to look out for. But it is just below the shelter there, and then up behind me, up there on top of those rocks, that's kind of my spot. And then if you look down here, there is a few down there. The water's down there, so that's where we're headed. Going down, get some water. So I'm actually down a little bit past the water. Just kind of following the trail. I saw this spot. I wanted to come check it out, but there's this nice mossy flat spot. It's got a fire pit, and it is inside of this bowl. So you've got kind of walls all the way around you. The shelter's up there. My site is up on top of the ridge back there. And so just standing here right now, there's a whole lot less wind than there is up top where I am. This is a nice spot, and you've got water kind of running right down through here, and so sheltered, nice water source right here. It's a pretty nice spot. Okay, so I've got the UGQ Winter Dream tarp completely set up. I've got the poles over the top, everything pulled out. What I really like about these is the snaps on the doors so that you can truly close them up. Others, you know, you can overlap them or pull them as tight as possible, but there's usually still a pretty good gap unless you really are pulling across, and then you're losing a little bit of width. So, you know, being able to have the poles to pull it out and have the doors gives you the space inside, and it really seals it tight so that those winds are not whipping through there. There's no chance of it like this. So on this end, you can see I've still got it open. I've got the pull out down at the bottom, or the stake with the line on it for that. As you can see in here, there is plenty of room inside. I do have it pulled fairly low, just so that yeah, I'm keeping the wind out as much as possible. So it's pulled low down towards pretty much right at the hammock level, and all good there. So let you know how it works out between the hammock, 0 degree quilt set, the clothing I've got. I should be good. Gotta tell you, laying in here, got the tarp up, got the doors closed on the ends, as you can see. Got curled up in here, reading for a little while. Hands got cold, so I tucked them inside, closed my eyes, took a little siesta. It's kind of nice. Not gonna lie, not having anything to do, just kind of hanging out. I'm good with it. I just finished up dinner. I had the Peak Refuel cheesy chicken and broccoli. Good meal for a mass-produced one that you can get readily available at a lot of different stores like REI. Definitely a good one. Sun set and starting to get a little bit of color in the sky. You can see a little bit behind me, but if I turn you around a little bit, let's see, we're getting a lot more up this way. I don't know if it's going to get much better than it is right now, but that's what we've got from the campsite. So one more thing I do have to do is I filter some water, but I need to take my filter, put it in a plastic bag, and put it in my jacket so that it doesn't freeze overnight. Because it's already below freezing right now, and so it's going to be down pretty cold overnight. Good morning. It is a chilly one, but it's another beautiful morning. It's a little after, I think it's a little after 8, something like that. I woke up probably at 5 this morning, and then fell back asleep, woke up at 7, and then said, nah, it's nice and cozy in here. So it took me a while to get myself up out of that nice warm down that was encapsulating me. And so I had everything kind of in the hammock with me, and it's kind of a pain. I hate having all the stuff in there with me. It ends up getting under me as I move around and stuff. But what I wanted to show you is, even in, let me get in the sun so that you can see a little better. So even in with me, my water is pretty much frozen. So it was kind of out in a pocket. So it wasn't like up against me or anything, but it has frozen. It was surrounded by a bunch of clothes, so I thought that it might stay thawed. There's enough in there that I can drink, but it's definitely frozen. Cold morning. Slept pretty well, actually. I messed around reading and watching videos and stuff until probably around 10 o'clock. So between 10 and 7 or 10 and 5, I don't remember waking up at all. But I definitely, this morning I noticed a few things that are kind of, I was looking, it's been exactly 2 years. So February 22nd of 2021 was the last night I slept in a gathered in hammock prior to last night. And there are some things that I had to remember about gathered ends, and so we'll talk more about that later. So this weekend was really just the start of testing the gear that I've got with me for a couple of reasons, but mainly, I want to give everything a fair shake and give it plenty of time to be tested out. And one time doesn't really show anything. For example, a tarp. It didn't rain last night. It didn't snow. I didn't get anything on it. The wind wasn't horrible. So what can I say about that? I mean, you can't really judge a whole lot there. And for me, going out on a backpacking trip, the first night I usually sleep not that great. And so progressive nights, my sleep ends up getting better as I'm out on the trail. So for the hammock, I definitely want to get a multi-night hike or backpacking trip under my belt with it before I say anything. Plus, with everything, durability and long-term tests are important. We've got to know how equipment holds up over time. And so, this was just the first time getting some of this stuff out and putting it to the test, but we're going to get lots more time. But there are things. So let's talk about some of the things that I did find, even on this first trip, that, maybe differed from what I thought ahead of time. So let's talk about the tarp real quick. The snaps on the door. I love the fact that you can close up the door and seal it off. So if the wind is coming from this direction, it's really being blocked. So, that's one of the downsides of a tarp, is that depending on how many trees you have available, you may have to select 2 sets of trees that puts you in an area where the wind is coming at the ends rather than at the sides. I mean, preferably you want to set up so that the wind is always coming and hitting the wide side of your tarp so that you're being better protected. But there may be times, just given the trees that are around where you are, that you set up where the wind is howling and it would come right straight down through the tunnel of the tarp. And if you have a normal just hex tarp and it's open, the wind's going to go right down through there and you're not being protected at all from the wind. At least with a winter one, most winter ones you can close up the doors and then you're going to have some protection. But with one like this, where you can actually close the doors and snap them closed. Now, there are others out there that have Velcro. There are some that have zippers. I know that UGQ actually has one with zippers as well. But this one has snaps. The downside of the snaps is that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 snaps on there. So I was getting in and out the other end at night. And so while I slept through the night and didn't have to get up and do any emergency, watering of the plants in the middle of the night, I did have to get up, like before going to bed. I got up to relieve myself before jumping in bed. And so the problem is when it's cold out and you're trying to make everything as quick as possible and get back in, now when you get back in, you've got to fiddle with 6 snaps, getting everything connected again, and it's kind of a pain. I'll be honest, it's kind of a pain while you're doing that. If we're talking about the hammock, so like I said, I did sleep good in the hammock, but it is a gathered end hammock, and so there are some inherent things that I had forgotten about gathered end hammocks that I've got to learn to deal with again. Now, Corey has said that the shoulder squeeze shouldn't be as much in this hammock, and I will admit that it's not as much in this hammock as I have in others. However, to really put that to the test, like I said, it's been 2 years since I've slept in a gathered end hammock. The reason I went away from it was because of the shoulder squeeze and the shoulder issues that I've got. But I actually want to get 2 hammocks, probably 3 hammocks. So one of my bridges, this hammock, the Majestic hammock, and another gathered end hammock set up side by side while I'm out some night, and get a couple of hours in each one of them just to feel the differences, to really be able to say, yes, there is significantly less shoulder squeeze here or here or here, whatever the case may be. I want to be able to justify that and actually say it. But the big thing with gathered ends, and it's kind of something that I noticed with the bridges. Bill Townsend from Townsend Hammocks puts a shock cord adjustable loop over the ridge line that hooks to the underquilt and pulls it up. And I think that that's something that probably I should start doing with gathered ends as well, because I do notice that there are times where you're moving around, especially if you are going from laying on your back to doing some like fetal or laying on your side. The underquilt gets a little bit saggy in certain areas, and so it would be nice to have something like that to pull it up. The other thing that I have noticed, and this is something that I've seen with lots of other gathered end hammocks over the years, and it's much more prevalent. You see it a lot more in the cold, or at least you notice it a lot more in the cold, is that certain positions you get like channels where the fabric kind of comes up a little bit and creates a tunnel between the fabric of the hammock and your underquilt. And so any air that gets in there is cold. And especially when it's cold out. I mean, it was down in the teens overnight. I think it was 18 when I got up this morning. So anytime it's cold and you get cold air in there, you feel it. You really feel it. And so finding a way to lay in the hammock to keep that mound, that tunnel from happening is important. So definitely things that I've got to work on. And once I get the tarp put away, we'll take a look at the hammock and talk through a few of the things, a few of the features on it and things that I noticed. Okay, so here was my sleep setup for last night. I've got the hammock gear, 0 degree incubator, and then the burrow on top. Yeah, both 0 degree. These are 900 fill power, I believe. They may be 950. I think they're 900. And then my Nemo pillow. But one of the things I wanted to take a look at and show you guys was the ridge line. So the ridge line on this hammock it's able to be disconnected and actually taken off, because it's kind of lark's headed onto a loop like this. So you've got a loop right here. You guys can see this loop that is connected to the suspension over here. And it's got a piece of Dutch gear bling, it looks like, on here, just a hook that connects it. And then on the other end, it's lark's headed onto a loop very much the same as this one. I'll walk you down here and show you. See, you've got another loop right here that it's just lark's headed on. But this is another piece that has a whoopee sling to it. So down here is actually the berry. There's the berry of the whoopee sling and the tail. And so you can adjust the ridge line. Now it comes, at least this one did, at the fully extended, which is the 83% ridge line. 83%, if you're trying to come up with a quick figure on that, is 10 inches per foot. So if you've got a 10-inch or a 10-foot hammock, it's 100 inches would be the 83% that they say is like the golden ratio, perfect ridge line. So if you've got an 11-foot, it'd be 110 inches, and so on and so forth. But I'm not sure that an adjustable ridge line, especially if you have built a hammock and you have tested it and done all the work to say that, hey, 83% works great, that is what is best for my hammock. I don't know that having an adjustable ridge line provides a whole lot, other than a little bit of potential errors, potential problems that people could be reaching out to you for. So last night, just to see, I started messing with it. And so I went about 12 inches shorter than what it is now, and then laid in it and noticed that I was much more banana shaped, and then kind of extended it out to about half of that, and it felt better. And then I got it all the way out where it is again right now, and found that, yep, it's best with it fully extended. And so this isn't one of those hammocks that's super wide where you'd want a big dip, so a shorter ridge line where you go super diagonal in it to get a super flat lay like that. This isn't that hammock. So I think the adjustable ridge line is a bit of overkill and could be causing a potential issue for Corey, with people that have been messing with it reaching back out and saying, hey, this isn't as comfortable as I wanted it to be. But I don't know, that's just me. What do you guys think about adjustable ridge lines? Let me know. All right, so I've got camp tore down, put everything back the way it was, and it's time to start heading out. So we go hit the trail. Short hike out, so probably not a lot to see, but if I find anything, I'll bring you guys along. Alright guys, so I am back at the parking lot. That wraps up this trip and this video. Appreciate you guys coming along. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, this was the first time going out testing some of this gear, but we'll get out for some more. I will see you guys down the trail.